Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Mahaganadhipate Namo Namaha. Om Trambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. सर्वमंगलमंगल्ये शिवे सर्वार्थसाधिके शरण्ये त्र्यंबके गौरी नारायणी नमोस्तुते. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः. ओम भगवते श्री स्वामी नारायणाय नमः. ओम श्री लक्ष्मी नारायणाय नमो नमः. ओम श्री कृष्ण नारायणाय नमः. ओम श्री शिव नारायणाय नमो नमः. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते रुद्राय. ओम ऐं ह्रीं क्लीं चामुंडाय विचे. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Okay. Welcome to Daily Satsang. We are continuing our contemplation on the question of Vasana because that is related to the realization of the Atma. Atma is what, after all? Atma is our essential nature, who we are. The answer to the question, who am I? The rishis have answered that question by stating that we are the divinity. We are Satchit Ananda, truth, consciousness, bliss solidified. And along those lines, we are examining from different angles, different points of views in different scriptures, etc. What is meant by this word Vasana, what is meant by the recognition of it. So we're continuing along these lines as per what is written in Vachanamrut, which is a series of discourses between who is known as Swami Narayan, Sajanand Swami, and his disciples and his shishyas, his householder devotees, his Tyagi saints, etc. So to continue from last time, there was a question that was asked by Brahmanand Swami, if you remember, who is a poet saint from that time, written thousands of different poems and different verses of very beautiful, beautiful literature. So he has asked a question: what is the nature of Vasana? What is the form of Vasana? The actual translation here, what is the nature? That is not exact. I mean, that's okay, but it's not 100% accurate. You know, the actual word in Gujarati is roop. Vasana nu roop shushe. Roop. You know, roop meaning form. It's a very good way to put this question, as I mentioned before, because we need to understand ourselves, within ourselves. Oh, this is called Vasana. I can see that myself. These are my desires. These are my thoughts. These are my emotions. These are my tendencies, my latent tendencies. All of that is all to be perceived. So the answer that was given, there's two answers that are given here. And in Gujarati, I'll say it first and then we'll translate again. That is, Shruji Maharaj બોલ્યા છે પૂર્વે જે વિષય ભોગવ્યા હોય ને દીઠા હોય ને સાંભળ્યા હોય તેની અંતઃકરણની વિશે ઈચ્છા વર્તે તેને વાસના કહીએ. What it means simply is that, in simple language, whatever we have experienced in the past, right? Just a quick review. Whatever we have experienced in the past, the desire for it comes up again. Now, when the desire for it comes up again, why? Why does that happen? Right? So let's talk about that a bit. The past experiences, we know that they are within our mind. So that is called chitta, Chitta. So don't confuse these two words, chitta and the word chit. These are two different words. Chit means consciousness. That's the part of the Atma, realization of the Atma. The word chitta is referring to the storehouse of memories. So the antakarana, the internal antakarana, has four aspects: manas, buddhi, chitta, and ahankar. The four. This is called chatushta antakarana, four aspects. So the chitta is the storehouse of where all the memories are, not just from this life, from infinite lives. It is possible through various types of meditative states to even remember past lives. They do this past life regression and all that. You know, I don't really believe that is all that necessarily beneficial. It might be in some therapeutic way. We want to build our life and we want to move ahead. It is not to be stuck into past lives and things like that. That could potentially happen also. But anyway, the chitta has a lot of memories inside there. So the answer Maharaj is giving is a very practical answer for us in terms of the desires that prop up ichcha, that something that was experienced in the past, the desire for its repetition occurs in the present. Why? We know this happens. So there are several answers. So the brain, there's a neurological answer. The brain, particularly the primitive brain, has circuitry within it where these old memories are reactivated again for the purpose of survival. There's 3 prime directives in the primitive brain, and that is survival, seeking pleasure, and reproduction. So these 3 are called prime directives of the limbic system in the brain. So the primitive brain is called the lizard brain, the triune brain, the older part of the brain, which is where our automatic functions also exist. In that older part of the brain, this is programmed inside there. So when the baby is born and when the brain is being formed, that formation is there for 3 purposes: for survival, for seeking pleasure, and avoiding pain. And of course, survival meaning for reproduction also. So our sexual instincts are inside the reticular activation formation. That is part of where they are. Then our desire for food, water, safety, protection. It basically has to do with the formation of the body, all 3 bodies, the formation of the physical body and the subtle body, where the Jivatma is saying, this is me. That sense that this is me is very much related to the formation of the brain. That's where it exists, the brain and then the mind, of course. So the Atma Tattva is completely different from the 3 bodies. So this is called Vyatirek Swarup. In Garuda Pratham 7 and in all of Vedanta, we have seen that the Atma is beyond the 3 Shariras, Sthul, Sukshma, Karan. And it is beyond the 3 gunas of Maya, Sattva, Raja, Tama, Sthul, Sukshma, Karan, and the 3 states that are experienced, the waking, dream, deep sleep state, right? It's called Gunatit. Gunatit means beyond the 3 gunas. Dehatit means beyond the 3 bodies, right? And Indriyatit would mean beyond the senses. We can also say the Turiya Avastha or Upsham Avastha, Gunatit Avastha, that is beyond the 3 states, right? I hope this is clear. So the Atma is completely different from all of this expression of Maya. But the fact of the matter in life, in our life, we are an individualized being. That sense that I am this individualized being, this is my body, or even the sense that this body is me, that sense of the me, that is in the brain. And if the brain loses that sense, you would have severe psychiatric disorders. So, as much as we talk about going beyond the sense of the me, we have to be careful about that. It's not that we're trying to destroy the sense of the me. If you do that, a person will wind up in long-term psychiatric hospital. And there are people who are in the psychiatric hospital because that has happened. So that is another thing to understand. These are called identity dissociation disorders. There's so many. I don't want to go through all that here. There are serious psychiatric disorders where identity gets fragmented. So that is not what Vedanta is about, and that is not to be misunderstood from these scriptures. It is not the destruction of personal identity. If that happens, you will not be able to live in this world even. There will not be enlightenment. A person will be heavily medicated. That's all. So that is not what we're talking about. I really want to make that point clear, because there's so much emphasis by all the gurus and teachers on going beyond the me. But hold on one second. Going beyond the me is not the destruction of the me. It is in fact, that me has a great purpose. If without that me, there will not be any life of any kind. There will not be any experience of any kind. There will not be anything at all. And if it gets disturbed psychologically, psychiatrically, it's big trouble. So it is not that the me is to be destroyed. Be very careful on this point. Some people say, I just want to get rid of the me. No. That's a totally wrong idea. It is not getting rid of the me. It is evolving the me into the Brahman. That yes, this me is there. Yes, Sachin is there. These are my desires. Okay. I see what they are. These are my vasanas. These are my desires. This is the force of the vasanas. Why is that force there? Because that is my survival mechanism. If I don't feel hunger, how I will survive? If I don't feel thirst, how will the body survive? It's called jijivisha. Jijivisha is the desire to live. People who are suicidal, are severely depressed, that jijivisha gets damaged. And they don't want to live anymore. They take pills. I used to have patients, so many of them like this. Kids even, adolescents, taking 60 pills, 100 pills of Tylenol, Advil, psychiatric medicines to kill themselves. Making cuts all over the body. Is that spirituality? What is that? So jijivisha, the desire to live, is not to be killed. Vedantic realization, higher realization, is not the destruction of the ego. Remember, it is the understanding of the right and best utilization of the ego to evolve into the further development. This is very confusing to a lot of people on spiritual path. A lot of people are really lost, in my opinion. I've met them, so many of them. And they do not understand this about what exactly is vasana in the real sense. See, when Maharaj is asked by Brahmanand Swami what is vasana, he is not saying that you completely destroy your vasanas. In fact, what his opinion and perspective is in Vachanamrut, he says bring all the vasanas to synchronize with one vasana, one desire, that I want to please God. Bhagwan ne prasanna karva chhe. Prasannata. What a beautiful way. What a fantastic resolution to this question. Somebody says that I want to just kill all my desires. If you do that, the mind will become tamsik, tamoguni. And Maharaj has even written that in Vachanamrut. So beautiful. It's amazing the things that he has clarified. He has not left anything out. That if you destroy all of your desires, you will become tamoguni. You will say, I don't want to do anything. Who cares if I live or die? Whether I eat or I don't eat anything. I'm just, it is like people who are high on heroin. They don't want to do anything. There's no motive to do anything. That is tamogun. And there are plenty of people in the world of that type. They don't want to do anything. They don't have any desire to do anything. They are just somehow living, somehow doing something. There's no goal of any kind. There's no development of any kind. They're just living, and one day they'll be gone. That's all that will happen. That is called tamogun. So tamogun is not enlightenment. No. And it is also not a state of beyond vasana. So the force of desire that is pushing us to re-engage in this world also has a purpose. If that wasn't there, there would be no activity of any kind in this world. Okay, now take one step further. We recognize that there's force. It is up to each individual to decide to what extent those desires are to be satisfied, so that the satisfaction of the desires is going to take us into the Brahmic state. If I say that I'm not going to eat anything, ever, does that mean that I'm going to reach the Brahmic state? Or I will be thinking nothing except food. No. But if I say that I'm going to just focus my attention just on eating, one restaurant to another, one recipe to another, one cookbook to another, my whole 90% of my thinking is just what different kind of food I will eat. Will that lead to the Brahmic state also? That will lead to further and further conditioning, just getting driven by those desires and saturation, wanting something more, something different. It will damage the brain. Overindulgence damages the brain, and suppression, repression, completely cutting off from the Vishayas damages the body and the mind and the brain. That is why the Buddha said the middle way. He himself went to those extremes, didn't he? He was doing so much fasting and all that. Eventually, the story goes, you might remember that he was sitting on the bank of a river, and then there was somebody playing an instrument, some kind of a string instrument, and then that person said, if I make this string too tight, it'll break. If it's too loose, it won't play anything. And that struck him. Oh, he learned everything from that. He says, no, I'm too tight in my penance. I need to loosen up a little bit, come to the middle way. And that's the point. That middle ground is the point. That exact balancing point where exactly the right amount of food is eaten, exactly the right amount of certain kinds of stimuli from the eyes, from the nose are there in this material world. And then also the stimuli that are related to satsanga. So you bridge them together. See, if you look in Swaminarayan Sampradaya or any bhakti sampradaya, bhakti-oriented sampradaya particularly, you will see there's a lot of prasad, there's a lot of these different, bhajans and kirtan, and there's seva, and there's glory, and there's mahima, there's beautiful images of the sages, beautiful temples. Why is that? Why do we need all that thing? Why is it done like that? Because the five senses need to be connected somewhere. So you might as well utilize the Prakriti and put it into a divine realm. Scriptures. This is what is called satsang. When we go to temple, Bhagwan ke mandir mein jate hain, kis bhav se jate? We feel like, wow, we're going to the temple of God. See, our bhavana itself changes. Now, somebody will say, why do you have to go to a temple? People say this to me all the time. God is everywhere. I said, okay. Then if that's true, are you in that connection of seeing God everywhere? If you are, anybody who sees you will see God also. It's true. Ishavasya midam sarva. Wo sthiti hai. Who's saying no? But most of us are not in that state. We need something or other. Our senses need to have experience. Vachanamrita, again Vachanamrita. I come back to it because every answer up to today, any question that has come, I have found answer in that book. And I think you could say that with Gita and other scriptures also. But for me, Vachanamrita is the core, because it's just an amazing way that this has all been kind of put together. Maharaj himself stated, nobody can live without sense experience. Nobody. You will not be able to live for 1 second without sense experience. This is written in Vachanamrita. And if we examine, that is true. If we try to go and sit in some dark space, even sometimes at home, sometimes we're in our room sleeping and we oversleep, and then it's the light is out and we feel claustrophobic. Oh my God, Doesn't that happen sometimes? We need sense experience. Denial of sense experience is not a doorway to go beyond vasana. Anybody who says that is totally off the track. In fact, what they will do, they will not be able to deny sense experience very long, or if they're doing it by force, then only thing that will happen, they are fighting with their desires, their vasanas, etc., and it is going to make the vasanas stronger, and eventually they will completely flip out into bhoga, into all kinds of enjoyments, this life or next life or some other life, or whenever. So that is also not a way. It is not the denial of sense experience. It is to recognize the nature of Ichha. This is the whole point of that question of Brahmanand Swami. What is the form of Vasana? Before we get to the additional answers, how to go beyond Vasana, we'll cover that later on. We need to see what is Vasana. In as many ways as possible, without fighting with it, without criticizing it, without running after it. This is called choiceless awareness. It is called Janpanu in Gujarati. So we can see here that the force that comes up from inside is coming up from the brain, from the various primitive parts of the brain, for survival, for protection. If somebody pinches us, why we are so aware, oh, don't pinch me. Isn't it so? We feel pain in the body. Why do we feel pain? Why is there the experience of pain in the body? The answer is, I think, pretty straightforward. It is an indication that there is a damage somewhere, and it is an indication that the body has to be maintained in a certain way, in a healthy way, in a good way. So the experience of pain is an indication that there is some damage somewhere in the physical body. And if that experience wasn't there, the body wouldn't be able to function naturally. So the experience of pain is also programmed within the neurotransmitters, within the brain, within the nervous system, for the protection of the body. So body is not something that one says, okay, I'm beyond the body. Yes, we are beyond the body as the Atma. That is true. But that doesn't mean you are doing anything that is in any which way harmful to the body. It is actually finding that middle balance point, Madhyama Marga, where the interaction with all of the senses is occurring, where the antakarana, the energy inside the mind, is not damaged. That is exactly what is meant by Ichha Shakti. Yes, I have desire. Okay, I have desire for certain things. Desires do prop up. Desires are going to come. But the fact is, I need to be able to have wisdom regarding the desire. It is called Jnana Shakti. Jo Shakti hai, the energy that is there, that is going behind these desires, I must see that flow in terms of wisdom, in terms of jnana. And if I don't do that, then I will be lost in the vasanas are going to run automatically, and the more I fulfill them, the more that they are going to increase and increase and increase. They're going to grow because of tolerance effect, saturation effect. Psychologically, we know that. And tolerance and saturation are also necessary. There's a reason for that too. If I eat khichdi every day, I could eat khichdi every day. Yeah, I don't see why not. But at some point, maybe after day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, I said, I want something different from this. I'm tired. Bahut ho gaya. Why? It's tolerance effect. The same stimulation, right? So in psychology, this is called tolerance effect. So I'm going to connect quite a bit of psychological terminology into these scriptures, which is not in the scriptures directly, but it's all been discovered in the field of psychology and sociology and neurology and all of that. We'll try to bridge it in a meaningful way. So tolerance effect, keep this word in mind. Tolerance is what? This word tolerance I'm using, it doesn't mean like sahan shakti, that you're tolerating, the changes of life. I don't mean it that's not how this word is used right now. This word is used technically in psychology when the same stimuli is no longer giving you the same experience. If I haven't had a particular food item, like the khichdi, let's just say it's rice and lentils and some vegetables and some spices mixed inside there. That's called khichdi. Indian dish, famous dish, where people eat that all the time. All throughout India, in different ways it's made. Okay, so I make it because I haven't had it for 1 month, 2 months. So then I say, I want that. My memory says, you haven't had that in long, make that today. I make it today. Then I make it again tomorrow. Then I make it again the third day. By the time the fourth day comes, I said, you know what? No. This we have to do something different from this. Now, I do want to put a caveat. I do want to say one thing. And this, we will talk about this later on when the answer to the question of beyond vasana comes. I'll just make a point here. When the Atma is actually realized, then the bhakta, the devotee, the mukta, the liberated being, will maintain the body to maintain the body with certain nutrients, etc. Even if that person is given khichdi, cha, some simple foods, he's not going to bother with any of it. And bother in the sense, I have to have something different, like how we say. That person would not say that. Because that person is living in the ocean of joy. So then all the objects around outside, whatever limited objects there are, that person is more than satisfied. More than satisfied. Not just satisfied. Always satisfied. Santrupta. But even in that state, I want to point out that you're not rejecting the experience of the senses. We will look at this point in Vachanamrut Garada Madhya number 13. That is explained very well by Maharaj himself. He's talking about his state. We'll talk about it later on. We will get to all that. It's really quite something. When we are diving into the oceanic consciousness of the Atma and the Paramatma, first of all, the mind is so powerful. So much energy is flowing in the system. And that power is used for the contemplation, for further and further contemplation, manan chintan on the Brahman. Manandvara Brahmano Sankaro. There's a Vachanamrut like this. I think it's Garada number 31, first section. If I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's Madhya 31. I think maybe that's what it is. In the middle section, Madhya section. You know that Manandvara Brahmano Sankaro. So those who are in that total conservation and transmutation of energy, they're still interacting with the world, but now they are seeing the Prakriti without the entanglements of Rajogun, Tamogun, or Satvik Ahankar. Adbhut baat. My God, that is the thing. That is the prize. To be able to live in this world completely as a liberated being, Jivan Mukta, Videya Mukta. And these are different categories of muktas, but some other time we will go into all of that also. That's higher level stuff. But in general, we can say to live in this world completely untouched by the vicissitudes. Vicissitudes means the flux. The constant change of the world is there. But to live in it without getting touched by the flux of the world. Is it possible? Absolutely. Absolutely it is possible. It is possible, as Maharaj stated, as Shankaracharya ji stated, that take the mind and link it with Brahmachintan. The Brahmachintan, badi baat hai. What human beings are doing. We have chintan of what? Of all of the confusion, the mixture and the agitation of this world. That is what we are doing chintan of, whether it is in the family life or whether it is through the endless number of TV shows and YouTube videos and Netflix and all this thing, whatever it might be. That if you look at, as an example, if you go to Netflix, which people watch, 90% of that stuff is what? It's all mixture of Rajogun, Tamogun. If you want to understand what is Rajogun, Tamogun, watch Netflix. You'll understand. See, here's the other thing. If you watch these different series, different shows, all the different movies that are there, it is a way to understand what is Rajogun, Tamogun. Sattvagun is very little in that. Maybe some documentaries here and there. Sattvagun, there's some tiny touches of Sattvagun, drops of Sattvagun in those movies, in those shows. It's all 99.999% Rajogun Tamogun. यही बात. This is everywhere. All Bollywood movies, everything. A to Z. इसी को ही तो संसार कहते हैं. And to awaken out of that is a very big thing. My God. People are lost, drowning in the sansar. It's a Davanal Agni. Sansar, Davanal Agni is the fire in the forest. And the sansar is being crushed and burned. If we see it, this is a matter of perception. And I don't mean to say everybody is being crushed, and I don't mean it like that. But if you really look at the agitation, turmoil of most human beings, it is truly, truly, at all levels, we should have the intelligence to say, I don't want any part of that pain. The conflicts that are going on endlessly, the constant pursuit of the Vishayas, again and again and again and again. Where is the Ananda in any of this? Where is that Ananda? And that is where Brahmachintan begins. A mumukshu is one who has realized the absolute futility of running after Rajogun and Tamogun. That is called a mumukshu. One who is a bhubukshu, starting with the B, bhubukshu is one who is running after Rajogun. Okay, run after it and see how far you will go. See what is the experience. And you'll see that there is tolerance effect. So today I'm talking about tolerance. Whatever is experienced, if it's experienced again and again and again, you want more. You get sick of it. You say, I want something different. I want higher stimulation. Where is the satisfaction? Now, it doesn't mean that you're not trying to progress. You may get higher stimulation. You may enjoy. But at the same time, if you don't get it, the satisfaction with what you have, and of course to develop further. The development further is obviously necessary in life. But what is true development? Is it true development to create more and more movies that have more and more violence, with more and more people being killed and hurt? And if you look at the level of violence that is depicted now compared to 5 years ago, compared to 10 years ago, compared to 15 years ago, it has increased. It keeps increasing. They keep finding new ways of showing this violence. Now you have the different shows with different government agencies involved, and massive kinds of guns and different bullets and people's heads being cut off. All kinds of things are shown that would never have been even thought about in the 80s and 70s. Why? Because saturation, tolerance effect. The public has gotten saturated. Now and that's how you sell. You provide something more stimulative, more violent, more horrific, more this way, more juicy somehow. It sells more. Oh wow, that expands that desire, and that's how the economy runs. This entire world economy runs only on one principle. That is how to increase vasana. And those who are trying to awaken into the Brahmic state recognize this and leave the world alone. We cannot improve the world. It's not about improving the world. At the most, you can make the world, some people, some sattvic to some extent. True awakened being is not trying to improve the world, is trying to awaken out of the world. See the difference. In that awakening process, all benefit for the humanity is there. All good things are placed in the humanity. Whether humanity takes it or not, that is up to humanity. That is how they have done. Yes, they have served the world, but without any attachment or expectation from anybody in the world. So many saints and sages have come. the truly awakened ones, they still give their teachings, they live in this world, they see the nature of it, they interact with it in a certain way, they keep their attention on the Brahman, and at the same time, they have no attachment towards their disciples, to their sanstas, to their gurus, to their guru they may have, but to anybody in this world, if everything vanishes, they are still untouched. They will continue their path forward. See, many times people who are highly sattvic are obsessed with trying to improve the world because they don't have Brahma Vidya. When you realize Brahma Vidya, the world, you are going to serve the world without getting trapped in the sattvic ahankar of serving the world. Okay, so let's pause here for a moment.